Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Jim and Sam Town Square. I'm Scott King. Jim and Sam fans know me from the Forbes articles, and I'm joined, as always, by multi-Emmy Award-winning television producer Chris Cangilla. In this episode, recapping week 3 of November 2023. Chris, a lot going on before Thanksgiving break, some developments. Jim's taking his medical testing seriously around the holidays, and I guess we just talked about this, and I guess we'll start. After 7 years of not just the Jim and Sam show, but Jim referring to himself as daddy, we have learned that Sam is baby.
Yeah, very weird. He even does the baby talk for Sam, and Sam does the baby talk a little bit. So yeah, daddy and baby. Maybe
daddy
that's
and baby. And we're used to Jim's baby voice. Anytime he mentions not just a kid, but a teenager, he'll do a baby voice like, Dada, I need to go doo-doo.
Yes. Ridiculous.
And so speaking of Jim's medical testing, which I mentioned at the top here, I'm almost 40. So Sam's like I'm about to be 39. I think Sam's a little closer to 40, but I feel like I'm starting to get close to where I should get regularly tested and checked out for stuff. My wife says that. Jim is constantly doing this. He does these every year, gets everything checked out. We know he's terrified of the MRI machines. But I mean, I don't think of all the crazy things he does, just getting checkups and checked out, I don't think it's too crazy, right?
No, it's not. And I'm Jim's age, and so I've gone through all those tests as well. And you just got to take care of yourself. I was fortunate to, really watch my weight this past year and lost a lot of weight, and it just felt so much better. So that's what you try to do is take everything in moderation. And then just make sure everything is, and Jim alluded to it, make sure everything is working the way it's supposed to. And he's good, but, in typical Jim fashion, he takes things to the extreme. So if he's going to get one test, he might as well get 50 tests and a full body scan and all those things. But you know what? Go for it. He's had so many people in his life that have passed, comedians that have lived hard. So, I can understand it.
One thing you might not be able to understand is the him being terrified of the MRI. I understand if you're claustrophobic, you go in there, you are really enclosed, and some x-rays take longer than others. I think he said he's got to be in there for 40 minutes. But in the past, we learned he can't even be in there for 5 minutes. So he is super, super uncomfortable and scared of being in there.
Yeah, it's a little odd. I can understand it. I don't have that fear as much as some other people, but it is a little tight corners. But maybe I don't know, maybe he's worried about maybe taking a sedative. Maybe, I'm sure they have those kind of things. And, he's always worried about something that would lead him to, destructive behavior. So we'll see.
So he had a little doctor intervention. His doctor told him he's got to lose 25 pounds, which is very specific, but I appreciate the doctor saying that. And, we know that he doesn't like being encouraged in the gym. So if you see him trying to lose the weight, don't say anything. He hates it. But I think this is a little bit from his lifestyle with Nikki. She likes to get snacks and treats. She's very thin. He's just kind of packing on the weight. And we've seen him be so dedicated in the way he obsesses about things. We saw him lose a ton of weight and keep it off and have this crazy diet and working out a bunch of times a week. Do you think he'll get back to that ever?
He can. It's really hard as you get older. And as you have kids, it's hard to resist all that food. And if you do partake in that food, it's hard to keep it off and hard to have it affect you. Yeah, so living with Nikki has been a challenge because she can eat whatever it looks like and still stay thin, and she's younger, of course. But it's really hard, and I think he can get there. I think he went a little too far, and I think he even said that he went a little too far when he got thin that other time. He didn't look right; looked a little sick. So I think he can get there, but it is a challenge. And like you said, when you're at the gym, you gotta the whole encouragement thing of a group thing. Jim's not into, and they even talked a little bit about how everybody has their phone out there and taping their workout and recording their workout. And Montone was like, he's there all the time. It's like, you shouldn't be doing that unless you're getting a PR of some sort, So yeah, the gym is a different place these days. And so, let Jimmy do his thing and lose the weight the way he's supposed to without the encouragement, maybe.
Absolutely. And some great old school Jimmy we're still getting, despite his relationship status change actually happened 2 years previously, we learned, is that when he visits Jonathan in LA, which he just did this past weekend, I believe, he is still getting him with the gasser prank. He is cutting gassers in Jonathan's car, and he's still running Jonathan's stories when Jonathan will say something like a reference a number, how many and Jim will purposely guess wrong, usually way over exaggerating in his answers. They're for a manager client relationship. It is always hilarious. I got to witness this in the green room last year, and we just all were talking about comedy, having a nice time. But I love, and Jonathan, we know, loves his characters and will like just yell things characters say out loud. Their relationship is amazing, and I want to see more of it. I want to see more of these videos. Maybe that's why it's great. Another reason it's great to have Nikki around. You might see more of these videos with Jim and Jonathan.
Yeah, I mean, she really has given us an insight into their personal lives a little bit more. And yeah, Jonathan and Jim seem to have this great relationship. And you know, it's just Jim cares about people and Jonathan cares about him. So it's funny that, you know, that Jim shows his love with gas. But, you know, poor Nikki has to sit in the car and experience that as well. And the thing about, you know, the whole guessing, like, you know how many people in the United States did this? And Jim will say 14 million. It's like, no, it's like 10, you know, that makes me laugh all the time.
And Jonathan still gets so upset by the gas. That new video they just posted, like after all these years, he's still like shocked and outraged every time. It's just amazing. Speaking of shock, imagine being on an Alaska Airlines flight that they've talked about for a couple weeks in a row now. We find out not only was the pilot on mushrooms who tried to crash the plane, but he believed he was dreaming, and he did some pretty interesting things to wake himself up from the dream. What were those, Chris?
Oh, thanks for giving it to me. Yeah, I'm not sure if he did that before he was in custody, or I think he was in custody already.
I think it was after the flight.
Yeah. He wet himself, which is interesting. And then he, you know, self-gratified a little bit trying to get himself out of that. And that was a little challenging probably to witness, and just a weird fella. It's not a pilot that I'd like to be in charge of the plane that I'm on, for sure.
No, definitely not poor Jimmy. We know how scared he is of flying. Like,
exactly.
Imagine hearing that's going on. My Lord. But it's just another example of a current event story that you can't wait to get their take on. They just the way they break it down is hilarious, absolutely hilarious.
Yep.
And kind of on the other end, I love a good enraged Jimmy, which we still get all the time. And Sam's not, you know, happy about this either. The way that crime is just kind of all over in major cities, especially, you know, we're by Chicago. It's absolutely ridiculous. But you're seeing drugstores like Walgreens and other stores kind of like lock down basic products like soap. And the guys broke it down in hilarious fashion, but also none too pleased. Jim is tough on crime, which I appreciate.
Yeah, I agree with him on most of those things. He doesn't always have a good grasp on how to solve these problems. His solutions are sometimes not really something that's feasible. But, you know, yeah, it's something needs to be done, because, I mean, you can't get anything. It's all locked up. It's smash and grab. I mean, in Chicago here, we're getting the carjackings, and it's run rapid. So, yeah, there needs to be a little stronger on those kind of crimes, as well as, you know, the major ones. And they talked a little bit about, you know, how, you know, Amazon's getting into the drug game, you know, delivery of medicines and done through drone. And I don't know how drones ever going to be able to deliver that stuff. People are just going to shoot them down. That, you know, the same people that are breaking into these stores are going to shoot those drones down. So
absolutely. And I just love Jim's black and white, very harsh penalties for, like, he's talking about,
should
like,
be killed, to be dead.
Yeah. A lot of people should be killed, which I get really upset about these things too, when people know something's very wrong, it can hurt other people. Like, I always agree with them. And I always go back to in my mind when I'm listening to this is O&A, like maybe around 2012, late O&A, Jim's stance on, and he talked this week about taking some medication just for like a little bit of anxiety, just a really slight mood stabilizer. But I love when he revealed his stance on mentally ill people to be take your medicine or go in the lake. It's very cut and dry.
Either or, right? It's very direct. Yeah,
I love it.
He has a strong opinion on these things, and you know, he does go to the extreme, which isn't unheard of for Jim.
Yes. He's enraged, but it's also it is a comedy show. Please keep that in mind. Speaking of some great comedy, or perhaps a little more, Troy and Travis got a little closer than accustomed to. What happened there, Chris?
You know, I just don't understand why Troy continues to allow himself to do these things. They were talking, and Travis said, you know, it's warm. You know, it's very balmy, as Montone will tell you in the studio at times, because I think Jim turns up the heat. So they will mention it. They'll get the balmy comment from Montone, and then they'll move on. But Travis this time said, oh, yeah, I'm just really sweaty. It's like, ugh, like my whole chest is really sweaty. And they're like, well, let's feel it. And Troy said, I'll feel it. It's like, Troy, why do you want to feel Travis's chest? I know you take one for the team and you'll do that. And he did it, and then they didn't get it on camera, so he had to do it again. This hairy, wet mess. So yeah, it was quite funny.
It's just dudes being dudes. That's
Dudes being dudes. I mean,
yeah.
I'll tell you a dudes being dudes story real quick. We were playing poker with my friend. This is going back 20 years. And one of the guy was eating pretzels and just a ton of it. During the game, he took that amount of pretzel mush and put it on the table. And he said, I'll give somebody $5. Before he even got $5 out there, someone grabbed it and put it in their mouth just to make the rest of us laugh.
Oh, dudes.
Yeah, dudes being dudes. Ugh.
Definitely dudes. Speaking of dudes, Jimmy, we've heard a lot about Airplane Jimmy. The stories are legendary. I think this week Samian brought up, like, Jim was talking about the airplane. It was like, at least they don't take off their underwear at first class.
That's right.
Airplane Jimmy is a legendary part of Jimmy and his life and all that he brings. But he's let on that he's dreaming of being in one of those train cars. You could have kind of the viewing out the glass, right? So we have Airplane Jimmy. I would love to get Choo Choo Jimmy going.
Choo Choo Jimmy would be great.
It would be amazing. Check out some different trains. And I commuted by train a little bit when I was working downtown. I worked at the Board of Trade, and that's something you've done as well, right?
Yeah, I used to do that. About 40 miles from the city. So when we were going in there a lot, I would do that, and it's great once you're on the train. It's a really like a 45-minute shot, but getting to the train, parking, paying for parking, it's just a whole process to commute by train. But my favorite kind of train thing is one that from my youth, I remember, and I think they still do this. In Denver, there used to be a ski train that would leave early on a Saturday morning from Grand Central, not Grand Central, what is it? Grand Station, I think. Union Station, there it is, Union Station in Denver, and go up to Winter Park, Colorado, the ski resort. And it would drop you off and you go skiing, and then it'd take you home that afternoon. What a great way to do it. Your skis, actually, they had like built out outside of the train. You'd stick your skis in there. So like had a holder for them and right out there. What a great way to do that, because then you have to worry about all the traffic on I-70, which is a nightmare these days.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Speaking of awesome, we had top tier hot dog this week because he went on a trip with coworkers to Japan, 10 days.
Yeah.
And it went without incident and just completely normal and professional, right, Chris?
Yeah, of course. Everything that Hot Dog does is completely normal and professional. First of all, they lost their luggage, and that's not Hot Dog's fault, but how they rectify that can be. And they couldn't find where it is. Fortunately, somebody had one of those air tags in one of their suitcases, so they were able to find it, and they got that back. And then, we talked about boys being boys. Well, they were out drinking one night, and we're not sure if Hot Dog did this to impress a woman or not, but he did want to jump over a railing or a fence, and he broke his arm. And he broke it so bad that he actually had to go see a doctor in Japan. And he has that in a what do you call it, a sling, and it's very funny.
It's absolutely legendary. He first they weren't sure. It was a gray area if because he was texting as it was happening because he was drunk, texting Sam and Travis. I love that all his communication was Sam. As much as he works with Sam, it seems like Travis is on all the text just for Travis's own enjoyment. So I love that. And it seemed like as he texted, he said he was trying to impress a girl. Then he told Jim no, and then he said there were girls around. So you get a hot dog story where you who knows what happened.
Right.
The detail that emerged, because I listened to this 2 or 3 times yesterday. The detail that emerged was you hear fence, you think like old school, like 80s, like coming of age movie.
Chain link fence, right?
Totally. Climb all the way up, jump over, which is never easy. He said it was as big as a coffee table, as tall as a coffee table, I believe. So to break your arm, not just being able to lift your legs. He jumped over trying to impress somebody, if not the girl co-worker with, but just amazing hot dog. Then another
thing that he tripped over is this is exactly who Hot Dog is, in my opinion. He was at the studio telling these stories, and he comes back with a Red Bull drink. You want to tell the story where he got the Red Bull?
we got it from the vibe, and he was like, yeah, got some energy going. And then there was a lot of confusion as if to that was lifted from the vibe if he was supposed to pay and did not. Troy said that he thinks those Red Bulls are free, which if they're free, that's not bad. That's
Yeah, of course, if it's free.
$4.
But if you go into that and you just take it and just assume, I think there's a lot of assumption when hot dog is involved, that assume that things are free or they're going to be this way. I remember when I was an intern, I went to lunch with our bosses, and the boss said, "We're going to my brother's bar." So the name of the restaurant. But the other intern thought he's going to his brother's bar and didn't bring any money. You can't just assume just because it's his brother's bar that it's going to be taken care of for you. So there's some assumption. Yeah. Even if it is, bring your money. Yeah. You're not going to say, oh, great.
Oh my God. Also, I love that hot dog at the hospital. When he's telling the story, he let on that he may have spoken. He thought it would help him to speak in a Dominican accent in Japan with, me hurt, so hurt or whatever. He said, that's just absolutely legendary hot dog. And speaking of legendary things, Jim still collecting the Kiss posters every week.
But he's done.
Every week we're done. There's one more. I might. Then it's like I'm done. A little later in the week, there's one I might. And then it's this week. It's really come to a head. He spent almost $3,000 on what his biggest purchase. Also lets on the coop that he has over 50 of these, which is not surprising at all.
No.
He's searching for like every Kiss poster ever made in mint condition,
and probably not 50 unique ones, probably 3 of this one, 5 of that one, 7 of this one, just total of 50.
And that was another Travis reference that I really appreciate, and Sam makes him to that what's that, oh my God, that show on Netflix, I Think You Should Leave. Have you seen that?
Yeah it's one. It's very good.
Travis referenced with this, he referenced Bob Odenkirk's appearance he was in one of the sketches where he was pretending to know Tim Robinson, the main guy, and said that he has triples of his cars. He's trying to impress Tim's son. He's like, I have triples on my cars.
Triples, for sure.
So triples. Jimmy has triples of his posters, and this is, I feel like, is going to be a story. He just said he's going to go pick up this poster, but I feel like it's going to be a story, and it may or may not involve Coop, right?
Yeah, I guess it's in New England where this guy has his poster. So Jim's going to go because he spent so much money. I'm going to go get it myself because he doesn't trust, as we all know, the post office or any kind of shipping. He wants to go get it himself. So he's going to drive out there, and the boys are like, why don't you take Cooper with you? Go see Coop, stop in, meet his family, and all these kinds of things. And there's a very funny line during this process that we really can't go to. But yeah, it was really a good time. So I don't think Coop's going to be going, but you never know. Things happen crazily when it comes to Jim and his love of Kiss posters.
Absolutely. And speaking of Coop, I mean, we've talked about Coop's kind of long rise. I mean, the Coop stock, if you were in early, you're doing very well for yourself.
Yeah.
He's just doing great. I love when because of his age and the age gap with not just Jim, but with Sam and Travis and Troy too. I love how they explain things to him. And because you were working, you're very much in the professional world, and I was still kind of college, just starting like my first job when all these prank sites were around that I started talking to. They covered I mean, some of these I might use code words, but M Spin, Lemon Party, Tub Girl, all these just disgusting, disturbing. Also hilarious if you were of a certain age. Did you experience any of these? I was curious.
Unfortunately, I've had to experience them because of my love for O&A and Jim and Sam. Then when they're talking about it, I got to go look at it, and then I'm very disappointed that I did. This is why our podcast, Your and Mine podcast, works so well, because you have this era, Sam, Travis, you know, and I'm with Jim in that era. So we kind of bleed in like the guys like Jim and Sam did. We bleed into each other's lives before we started doing this stuff. And yeah, I remember a little bit about those. And that was kind of the birth of it's probably, even before social media, right? It was kind of just on the rise of these sites that you'd go visit. And very, very much. And what I remember happening at work a lot was when you got bearded. Do you remember getting bearded in an email?
Ooh,
Can't
no. What
explain
was
it.
that?
So yeah, I'll have well, I'm not going to explain it,
Okay. I'll have
but
to look it up.
look it up, and our viewers and listeners look it up. But please do it in a closed off area. Not what is it? Not appropriate for work. What is the saying?
Not safe for work.
Not safe for work. There you go.
NSFW. And please,
But it was very funny of Cooper knowing some of these, not knowing some of them, and then his reaction to them when he saw them.
please don't beard me after this
I
recording.
will not. I won't.
So one of the things, one of the sites, well, first of all, the counting the spins is absolutely hilarious. And they said they used to leave it on old O&A producers' computers and see how many spins they would get.
Yes.
But the lemon party, did you watch 30 Rock, Chris?
Yes, of course.
Oh, it's great show. There was a line in 30 Rock that is maybe, and I have a line, there's a line from early Conan O'Brien, Late Night with Conan O'Brien. There's two lines in TV I'll always remember. But the lemon party one, Liz, her last name is Lemon, Tina
Yeah,
Fey.
Liz Lemon, sure.
Liz Lemon, there she goes to a restaurant and checking a reservation. Then her dad comes in. Her dad's name is Richard. I believe it's her dad. And her dad's name is Richard. And he said, "You can't have a lemon party without old D."
Oh, geez.
Old D, lemon party. Oh,
perfect inside baseball comment. Yeah, my favorite quote from that is when she was dating the guy that was kind of he does all the Allstate commercials or whatever, the one the Mayhem guy, that actor, and she's dating him and he sells pagers and like, why are you selling pagers in this day and age? And he's like, hey, technology is cyclical. Technology is the only thing that's not cyclical. Right. Technology doesn't come back; it keeps on evolving. So
the show is so good.
Exactly.
Speaking of TV shows, last week we talked about this. They visited and revisited, went over all the animation shows from the 90s, those theme songs, which were amazing. They should have crowned X-Men the animated series. But Travis, and this has been a couple of weeks, Travis keeps talking about how Succession is the best, and Sam agrees, I think, to an extent, the best TV theme song of all time. It's recognizable. It's just kind of a jingle. I don't really see it as a theme song. It's not in my, like, Game of Thrones.
Yep.
You kind of talk about Breaking Bad. Jim's right to say Sopranos. That's a theme. It's a song, but they made the theme song. Everyone wants to, like, you don't get tired of it. You think of it. For you, do you think Succession is one of the all-time greats?
No. Yeah. And Jim turned me off on Succession long ago, and so I didn't really get into it as much. But for me, Game of Thrones for sure. And I love the West Wing, of course. West Wing theme song is incredible. They even, because Lin-Manuel Miranda was such a big fan of that, his last appearance in oh God, his thing? Hamilton. Thank you. In Hamilton was, they played him off with that theme song. So yeah, theme songs are cool, but yeah, it was West Wing for me. Which one is your favorite?
Game of Thrones is up there. Like, I loved hearing that. You knew you were about to see, except for the last season, it got a little murky. You knew you were about to see some great TV.
Do you dance when you hear the Game of Thrones?
I haven't, but I recall someone who did, and you could still probably find it on Twitter. It may not be Jim Norton. Did it at Bobby Kelly's house and
annoyed Bob very much every time. They used to watch that show together.
Yeah, they used to watch it together. You're absolutely right. Something not as fun that they talked about this week, and I covered hockey for about 10 years in Chicago, mostly the Blackhawks, and this death with this guy who took a skate to the throat in a league in England, really just tragic. I think it's only happened like one or two other times in professional hockey, but they broke that down, and I'm surprised it was a little bit light when they were. I don't think they understood like how. I don't know if they saw the photos and video, because like if you did, Chris, there's blood all over him, all over the ice, and he died.
Yeah.
I do appreciate the way Jim and Sam broke it down, because as much as they joked about it, they did kind of look at the other player's history, and I guess I haven't looked deep into it, that he has had kind of a career. A lot of his career has been kind of reckless plays.
Yeah.
So the way I saw it is he kind of, that the guy that got him with the skate, your leg never has any business being up that high.
No.
You know how sharp and dangerous a skate is. And at the very least, he was trying to just catch him with his leg to knock the player off balance, which is already an illegal check, and you could hurt somebody. So it's already a reckless play. And I think that's why the guy was it seems like it was the guy. They arrested somebody. They didn't say the name, but it seems
Yeah,
like
that's the weirdest part about that whole story is how come they haven't announced that it's him.
Yeah.
Who else are you going to arrest on that? You know,
Right.
who else was responsible if you
Yeah.
made a arrest? Yeah, I saw one of a guy that he was actually on the ground, and this was a complete accident. And he got slashed, and he's on the ground, and he's backing up. I don't know if you remember that video.
Yeah, I
And
think so.
and it's horrifying. You're absolutely right. I'm not as knowledgeable on hockey as, of course, you are. But it doesn't seem like that leg should be up there at all. There's no reason for it. Even if you lost your balance, right, and you're on one skate, you don't do a pirouette and have your leg up that high. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Right. Was it an attempted murder? I don't think so, but it was so reckless that could happen. So yeah, just brutal. I mean, I think they broke it down kind of the right way, but brutal. And onto greener pastures here. It would be a golf course. We'll get to what Bert did. But good for our guy Troy. I mean, him and Black Caviar, just like they just had NFL. I don't know if it was Thursday Night Football. They just had a song and a commercial for the NFL. We know about the Spider-Man gold record into the Spider-Verse. Now they have Bert's Netflix golf special, the Netflix Open.
I think it's a form. I think Bert was just doing the some commentary on it, but it's like the Netflix Formula One golf thing because they're doing the Formula One in Vegas. I think it's coming up this weekend, if I'm correct. And they did a golf thing, and it's Troy's Black Caviar tunes, and they have great success. They are doing the NFL shop, and that commercial is always up during NFL games that they did music for. And Troy had a good kind of explanation. It's like, we did this song before, and we just have a good guy that kind of markets and they're looking for songs that use it. But it's good quality stuff if these big players are doing it. So it was great. Jim even goes, "Is it something that like you could stop working, and just do that?" It's no, don't. I want Troy to still work.
Yeah,
with
for
us.
real.
Come on.
Yeah, I was kind of like, why is he saying no? I mean, he's trying to show like how well Troy's doing, and that like at some point he should be making a lot of money because their music's everywhere. So they did. Oh, speaking of Bert grabbed a protester, and he's like smiling while he's doing it. It's so Bert, but it was the right move to go like, hey, calm down, relax, it was so funny and interesting. And hopefully, it looks like that made it in there. But this is one of the funny things Sam does. Sam has a great Bert impression.
Yeah, he does.
I love what he does. He's
really high. Yeah,
he's like about to laugh and talk. Yeah, but I appreciate Sam's Bert impression. So they did pull names for Secret Santa this week.
Thank God.
We heard some reactions. I appreciate that not too much was revealed or hinted at, but as always, Troy was unhappy. Do you think the fix is in? Do you think the fix has ever been in?
It's hard to tell. It really is hard to tell. True. But they did it really fast because Jim had to leave the show early because he, of course, had a doctor's appointment, right? But yeah, they did it fast, and they, Troy alluded to something that I brought up on this podcast that when Jim finally did get Troy and buy him gifts, that he got a $20 gift certificate and some shirts or merch or something like that, or $20 in cash. When in the past Jim gave $300 in cash to other people. So
handsome Rob,
handsome Rob,
the Philly show,
exactly. So that doesn't make any sense. So yeah, and what was unfortunate during the picking is that they go, "Oh, I picked myself." So they put it back in. So you knew some of the things were back in there when others picked, and so if you did the math and if you really wanted to MacGyver it, maybe not MacGyver it, but you could kind of do Charlie Day and figure out who got what. If you really want to work at it, I'm just happy to be ready to see the reveal this Christmas.
Yeah. So they said there's going to be a Secret Santa mystery guest. I think it could be 3 people in my mind. I got 3 people, and that it could
I know who it is. I think.
Who do you think it is? Go ahead.
Okay, here it is. I think it's Nikki. They have been waiting to bring Nikki on for a certain reason. She loves this stuff. She wants to get a gift. I think it's going to be Nikki, and this will be our first appearance of Nikki on the Jim and Sam show. What do you think?
That's a big guess. I remember Jim saying that he's doing all the footage with Soraya for YouTube. I remember saying they want to bring her on the show. Did they say that? Yeah,
they said eventually, eventually we'll have her in.
She'll be on. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, but maybe this is the time. Who do you think it's going to be? Who's a secret?
That would be
Santa
really cool.
Mystery guest.
So my 3 guesses were Soraya, Denny, or Mary Jean. Those are my 3 guesses, and they're kind of standard. So I like yours, outside the box. What might happen?
Yeah,
those are kind of standard.
I would go with Denny on your list only because he's always been, well, the other ones have been in there too, but that would be something that would be a mystery guest, and that's someone that they kind of have to work to get in. You know what I mean? That
Yeah,
couldn't
we
be
missed
in
him at
to,
Halloween. We
yeah, and
sometimes
you couldn't be in for the
Halloween.
for the
So,
drawing. Soraya could have been there for the drawing. Mary
yeah.
Jean could have been there for the drawing. So who knows?
And I would even like if it was Soraya too, because last time she didn't participate as much. She was kind of just doing, photos or videos. So nice to see her in the kind of talent mix.
Sure.
Again, speaking of talent, we had 3 guests this week. We had Ian Fidance, we had Mike Fenoy, and Kel Mitchell from Keenan and Kel. Good Burger 2 coming out soon. So what did you think of the guests this week, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, let's just say it wasn't a strong guest lineup. That's okay.
Yep.
Not every week's going to be a home run. Ian was there, and it was kind of cool. He's really trying to not annoy Jim and Sam listeners. I think he is.
I appreciate that.
It's pretty funny. He's taping his first special soon, so he's there promoting it, and he's really excited and anxious about that. But a cool story that he brought up is he's going on tour with one of his favorite bands just to hang out, not to do comedy with them. He's just going to be hanging out there. And then they talked about something funny that Jordan told many people, and Sam, of course, brought this up, that Ian's member is weird, weird looking. So Ian showed a photo to the guys of his member. So that was weird. Mike was great. He talked about staying in a cabin over the holidays, and I thought that'd be kind of cool, just unplugging and that kind of stuff. Now, if I'm not mistaken, did he open up for the Tenderloins, the Impractical Jokers guys? I think he did. And I think Sal might have even kind of recently promoted him. But if he's the same guy, he's very funny. I saw the Tenderloins, the Impractical Joker guys in Lexington with my son Cal when he was in college, and big fans of those guys. And I know you've interviewed them many times.
Great guys. Yeah.
And then Kel Mitchell was good. It was a short interview. They were running out of time, and it was, I think, their first actor that's been in since the strike. So this is the first actor they've had in a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So Good Burger 2 is coming out, and they had some funny stories about auditioning for Saturday Night Live. So for me, I got to give it to him because he's trying. Ian, I enjoyed Ian's appearance this week, and I know many of the other listeners and viewers might squash that. But what do you think?
I agree. It was one of Ian's better appearances. I really enjoyed it. Better to kind of slot in as a guest there than as a co-host. And I think the guys would realize that because what was it, last Thursday Jim was out, and and they didn't have a guest or a fill-in co-host that worked better. I think they know that now. So yeah, Ian was good. Kel Mitchell, I think he may have done the show before, because I was surprised that Sam didn't say, "Hey, I'm a fellow Nickelodeon star from my."
Oh yeah, good point.
Oh, it was good. Some good actor talk, and the SNL thing was interesting. I didn't know that. So yeah, I enjoyed Kel as well, and Mike's very funny. Just getting to know him a little more. Let's run out of time here. Let's get the line of the week. Did you have some contenders? You got one that stuck out?
Yeah, I think we have enough for me to get my 2 contenders out there and get yours in there. One of my contenders was during the conversation with Kel in becoming an actor. I think when he first started out, he said he was his first role was that of being a rattlesnake, because he could dance and he could pop lock. And Sam, of course, says, "Well, Jim pop locks as well." And Kel said, "Really? You do?" And Jim said, "Yeah, but I got hurt." He goes, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that." He goes, "Well, yeah, that's because people saw me do it and they didn't like it and they beat me up," which is pretty true, probably. But I love the pop block stuff that Jim says he does. My second one, I think this is my favorite. Jim was talking about the turbulence that he was experiencing on his flight home from Los Angeles. It was pretty bad. And he was talking to the flight attendant about it. And Sam says, Nikki just had to stay there and listen to you talk, because Jim's in the window seat, Nikki's in the middle. Have you talk about this with the flight attendant and driver nuts? He goes, "Yeah." Jim said, "You know what? Nikki was just happy to be there, that I got her thing out of the overhead." And Sam went, "Ew, what's it doing up there?" And Jim said, "Please, it takes up a lot of room." Kind of funny. What do you got?
Mine are shorter, perhaps a bit lazy this week, but going back to the baby, when Sam addressed himself as baby, I just thought that showed he's not afraid to be a little awkward, and I love that he hasn't done that for 7 years, and now he's addressed himself as baby. It happened 2 days, and that was one of them. And then the other one I really liked, Troy's frustration at Secret Santa never gets old.
Never gets old.
He said he was expressing his frustration, and he's like, I want another one. And Travis had pulled his name, and then Troy goes, "I pulled my own name. It was like pretty serious.
Finding anyway. Yeah.
It was pretty serious the way he said it. So that maybe those 2 lines really made me laugh this week. So I'll have to go with Troy. I love that frustration. It was hilarious.
Always is.
Oh yeah. All right. So the guys are going to be on Thanksgiving break
Yeah.
next
Do you
week.
know? Do you know what Jim and Nikki are doing for Thanksgiving? Possibly. Did you hear about this?
Why don't you fill us in? I think I did.
Yeah, I think Sam invited them to not only Sam's own house, but maybe the parental house, the Robert's home
Yep.
for Thanksgiving. God, I hope that happens. Jim is always kind of weary about that, but I just hope that happens. I think it would be a fantastic time.
I think it'd be very welcome there. And I think there'll be some good stories with now that we're starting to hear more and more about Sam's dad after we've seen him. I'd love to hear how that interaction went as well.
Absolutely. So
So
yeah,
what-
we have.
what are we going to do? What are we going to do? I mean, what do we got?
Well, I know that the guys are off. We can't do a show recapping the guys, but I think we have a very special podcast, and we're super excited about it because it took a lot of doing, and it's fantastic, and it should come out Sunday overnight into Monday is when we'll release it, and it should be a wonderful thing, and we're just really happy about it, and it should be, it should prove to be a very satisfying Thanksgiving next week in the town square.
Thanks for watching and listening to the Jim and Sam Town Square. Please remember to like and subscribe and turn on that notification bell, not Doug Bell, so you don't miss an episode.
And if you're just listening to the podcast, please leave us a 5-star review. We really appreciate it.